a guy on my Facebook posted the following sentiment. He posted, it's really disheartening or discouraging to see that people are more upset about Dr. Seuss being canceled than Black lives being taken by police officers. You know, and it's to that effect. And the thing is again, what I see in his thing is, first of all, I have empathy. I understand, like, oh, in his movie, in his paradigm, he sees people being apathetic and then reacting to something stupid, right? Okay, it was interesting to see that because, see, my idea is when the Dr. Seuss thing comes, I'm like, oh, look, another wrong solution to racism that the left is posing, like another censorship and, you know, that's how I don't look at it as where I'm at. I didn't see anybody that was apathetic with the event this summer. I didn't see anyone apathetic. All I saw was people either reacting in a way where they were channeling rage into the wrong places and making things worse and escalating things. That's what I saw. Or I saw people who were so scared of that group that was escalating that they did go silent, right? And then I don't, with the Dr. Seuss is people are commenting on it because it's just another one of the lame, it's considered the lame censorship and lame solutions that rabid, feral, reactive people who are easily controlled by emotion and in their limbic system, once again doing another, you know, is not making anything better. It's, you know, the continual cancel culture, and especially the denial of it, is symptomatic of what we all see as a vitriolic, violent, rage-obsessed, and vengeful bunch of people. And we're worried about it. We're not reacting, and then those people are so unconscious of their shadow side that they are constantly projecting that shadow onto this caricature of what they believe is this ultimate enemy. And I mean, they're even having statements that say things like, oh, the right is so obsessed with cancel culture. It doesn't exist. And the right is so obsessed with, they all have all this, they have that kind of, it's again, that violent, abusive partner that you say, hey, this behavior really hurts me. And they say, well, you're the abusive one. I'm just the victim of you. You know, that the psychology of this either or thinking is this absolute unwillingness to see themselves as a villain. Now, on the same token, I usually try to say, like, well, both sides have this same blinkeredness, but there's a different blinkeredness that's more about a savior coming with the right. I'd say they're still hung up on how a savior is going to save them instead of having the sovereignty to stand up and speak out. They're actually like a codependent who is hoping that some strong man is not strong man, but, you know, a strong person will come and save them from the bully of the left. And the left is continually, you know, having the story of how the right is an evil, bigot, racist, and no one likes you, and you're going to be isolated from society, and we're going to fire you, and we're going to censor you, and we're going to make lists. I mean, and then they're getting into the ultimate dehumanization of saying, well, you're diseased, you know, you don't want to wear a mask, it's because you're selfish. They're making all these false equivalencies, and, you know, we can talk, it seems like the main point of whenever I talk is this kind of idea of how the left is not seeing themselves or not willing to see themselves as the villain, and equally they're not willing to see the right as a human. And this increasingly corrosive dehumanization is coming to a really peak point, because we're at the point where we're going to have visual indicators of who is on the, on wrong think, and that will be the people who are either maskless, or they might have certain colors indicating if you're vaccinated or not. I've heard that said. And then there'll be if there's limited freedoms with if you get vaccinated and you have a passport, and then that allows you to be reintroduced back into society. And again, the left is so convinced of this boogeyman, this caricature, and they even see the caricature as Hitler. And I'm not even saying that they see it delusionally. They see it. They truly believe what they believe, and they truly believe the right is this. And they're also so unconscious that they don't even entertain the fact that, or even, they just don't, that's why it's so hard. Like when I saw that guy's post on Facebook, like that was actually pretty, like I understand, it's like I can step into his shoes and be like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where your movie's at. But that's not the movie that I see, or what that, again, it's you arguing with a misrepresentation and then thinking you're misrepresenting a view and arguing with that misrepresentation. And it's the same thing over and over. And we're getting to the point where I don't think it's, people aren't really, they don't have a willingness to look into themselves. And it's even with the cancel culture, I saw another friend share a meme that was kind of, the gist was that the people claiming cancel culture are just straight white men, and they're not humans anyway because they've been oppressing everybody. It falls in line with this oppressor victim narrative, which is we have, and the thing is, it's scapegoating white cis males, and then they're the bane of our existence. They're the reason why you're not doing well in life. They're the reason why you're not, that's the scapegoat race, and that's the scapegoated race. And in other times it's been other races of minorities, and now it's the straight white male. And then that's the thing, is people act like, well, cancel culture can't exist because straight white men are in power, and it's that same argument of, well, the race that's in power, you can't be racist toward whites because they're in power. But it's pretty clear they're not in power. At least, people are, the main thing in order to be white and not ostracized is to admit all this, oh, I'm horrible type of stuff. So, you basically have to learn how to be racist against yourself in order to fit into society. You have to say that you have to denounce your whiteness as original sin. And if people aren't seeing that, I don't really have, other than these videos, I'm not an in-your-face type of person. I don't really go around ranting. I'm very much, to each their own. You come to your view and we should be free to have different views. And if you ask and actually want to understand, I'll talk about it, but I probably won't. In fact, and that's the problem, is most people are like that. The loudest voices are these either or thinkers who are largely unconscious to their shadow side. They're largely unconscious to the fact that they're choosing to view things in a particular lens. And that lens is distorted. That lens has all kinds of blindness, and they don't see the blindness. And I am aware, I have my own blindness, but I try to be aware of it. And that's the difference, is I'm not really actively seeking a narrative. Sure, I am in a strong narrative of I'm worried about the left, and that is a continual worry. And that may be a lot of projection on my part. Maybe I'm projecting all kinds of things onto them, and that's not really what they're doing. But because a lot of us are worried about it and have seen this for the past 5 years, it's just worth noting that how do we talk to them? How do we try to get them to see? We can't. They have to be willing to wake up, and I don't know if they'll be willing. I don't know if it has to get pretty bad, I think, for them to wake up. I think, and even then, I don't think they will. I think they'll still be pulling the crank and saying regurgitated slogans and phrases. because they're carrying with them basically, like I talk about in one video, I kind of talk about the origins of social justice warrior based on the millennials and Gen Y in particular, Gen Y in their upbringing, because at that time, when we were in high school, there was the right and the left looked a lot different. The left looked like the people that wanted free speech and were fighting against the oppressive right, who were they were trying to control different aspects. You know, they were the ones controlling what books, we don't want that book in school, that kind of conversation. Now it's the opposite. Now it's the left that's banning books, and then the right, new right, is kind of the more freedom-seeking party. At least a lot of them are. I think I know a lot of people who were on the religious right when they were oppressive in one way, and now they're on the left being oppressive in the other way. So they want to be oppressive, and they want to be in control and be the morality police either side. That's just how they act out their shadow. So anyway, I just think, how do we talk? I don't try to talk to any of all my friends have a leftist viewpoint, all of them. So I know, I actively feel, I sometimes distance myself because I fear eventual ostracization, because I assume they will assume something about me. You know, and again, I assume they're going to be prejudiced if I have any nuance outside of their either or paradigm, and then I will be ostracized. And so I distance myself from, which I think is awful, because then I'm playing into the polarization. But it's because I'm writing satire on it, and I'm making these videos, and I think about it a lot. I really am worried about it. So they're not going to like me if they're so far gone in this cult that they're not going to have any respect. I'm not going to be fodder for them to talk about with other friends. So I keep my distance. But they don't really see that. They just take it as obvious truth. And if you do think anything else, they're like, they'll even say, oh yeah, that's true. But they don't really want to concern themselves with it. They just really want to get back to normal. They're almost like in a trauma state where they're just like, I just want to be safe and feel peace again, and want to be out and free. It's like, well, I don't know. We are not going to get there. We're going to have a period where they're going to be blaming the people that don't get a V, as we see. We're probably going to have a period of, not a period, I mean, we're going to be in that as a reality. We're going to have those people, and the people that dare go against this tyrannization are going to be labeled. The dissenters are going to be dehumanized and marked. And because they don't want them to call attention or to make anyone wake up any further. They want everyone to stay in the either or paradigm and be easily controlled by simple things of like racism, sexism. Now you're controlled. Like it's like hurting children by these basic kind of morality statements, because mostly people are good people. So it's hijacking people's benevolence and good nature, and it's not for a good cause. And you can't talk about it with people. You can't. If they're far in that, you can't. And that, just like those people on Facebook, I say, well, I see your movie, but again, you're misrepresenting what you imagine the other side and what you imagine other points of view are. It's not an either or. It's not either you're a anti-racist or you're a racist, or you're this or you're that. It's like, no, you're someone that can be anti-woke, not because you're racist, or not because you're any kind of phobe, but because you see them as a vitriolic, malevolent force. You know, you see them as a malevolent force. And again, it's like this kind of screaming, abusive, terrifying person screaming in their very dualistic viewpoint, in their very either or thinking, and then it's like they're wanting you to go along with the lie, and you're not going to go along with the lie. It's not that you're in their distorted view. anyone that doesn't go along with the lie is just a racist, because they have a very simplistic kind of mind control. They only see things in that way, and they're only living in that limbic emotional state. So yeah. And then the reality, and the funny thing too, is they also have no idea that they think of themselves as the smart and the aware and the kind person, and everyone else is everyone that has any nuance, so racist, or they're tacit, they're evil, they're, how dare you, or silent, silence is violence. They have all these ridiculous words to vilify what is essentially the projection of their shadow and unconscious. So this is just a video. What is this saying? I guess I hate to be expressing futility, but sometimes I think, I don't know. How do I wake people up? I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard to know. And anyone have any ideas on ways, because I can only really share how I woke up. And I think it was definitely such a layered process that to have it quickly happen, I don't know if that's, I think everyone's different though. I'm not, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, processing, which is something that's hard for us to do in this culture. It's so nice to feel free to think out loud, to articulate, to process your thoughts, to kind of come to an understanding of what you really think and who you really are and how you want to talk to people in a way. And I'm just trying to be conscious and conscientious toward not being off-putting to them, because I don't want to act like, oh, you're so dumb and stupid, because that's what they do to everyone else. So such a circle, such a cycle, and that's why once we get into polarity, it's not, we've left a lot of decency and rationale, and it's too bad.